Shalom. I want to give all praises to Yahawah, Bahashem, Yahawashi, Baha Kodash, Rakah. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And shalom to all the sincere Akim watching and keeping their garments. And shalom to the Akim and Akwath that fear the Lord and try to do his will to the best of their ability. And learn and do their part and help, further push the truth. And today, the title says it all. I live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Today is Sunday, Super Bowl day. Me and the brother, Lord willing, I wanted to try and make it out there before the Super Bowl and all that, before it gets all crazy, because you know how people get and all that stuff. And we teach on South Street, which is a lot of like bars. There's a lot of stores, but there's a lot of bars and all that stuff, and the crowd that comes down there. But anyway, the title of this says it all. It says priorities, and then it says in parentheses, salvation, because we all know that that's our main priority in this truth. That now that we woke up to the truth, is that we're trying to achieve salvation through basically faith in our works. All right. And faith is talking about, fearing the name of the Lord, sincerely, watching, doing what he tells us to do, which would be the works, keep the 613 laws to the best of our ability, going out and teaching, whatever our lot is, whatever he put the spirit on us to do. Then it says versus fun, pleasure, entertainment. We know that, 2/3 of our people, that's, what they're basically into, so. And then I have here the lust of the flesh in parentheses, because, our people, they go with whatever, they're outside of the scriptures, basically. Like lust of the flesh will be, let me see if I can find it real quick. I was just looking at something all right, here we go. This is from BibleTools.org. This is a tool I like to use. But, all right, so I was looking at this scripture, 1 John 2:15-17, and it's talking about where it talks about lust of the flesh, lust of the eye, pride of life. All right, so this is according to commentary Adam Clark. It says the lust of the flesh refers to sensual and impure desires which seek their gratification in women, strong drink, delicious foods, and the likes. And then it goes into the lust of the eye, the pride of life. Matter of fact, so I'm gonna just read all three of those, but I'm gonna just stop and then go back to the top. It says, for lust of the flesh, lust of the eye, it says indicates inordinate desires after finery of every kind, gaudy dress, splendid houses. Gaudy dress would be like, clothes, jewelry. It says splendid houses, like mansions, all that stuff, superb furniture, all this expensive furniture. It says expensive equipage, trappings, and decorations of all sorts. And then it says the pride of life. It says hunting after honors, titles, and pedigrees, boasting of ancestry, family connections, great offices, and honorable acquaintances. All right, so that goes back to that scripture, 1 John 2 and 15, or I think it's 16 actually. All right, so these are things that our people get trapped up on, but I'm going to just focus on, the lust of the flesh, all right? And, like the brother that used to teach with us, McQuad, he did a video, and it's like people gave him a lot of negative, feedback or whatever, but it's like I was saying, from what I heard him say, I'm not trying to get all into this, but basically, it's not committing iniquity or sin to basically watch sports and all that, but this is something that's kind of a stronghold to a lot of our people. It's like some people, I'm not necessarily talking about brothers in the truth, but just in general, this is one of the things we got to watch out for, is how we spend our time. And like, because just like, for example, like I was saying, I live in Philadelphia. There's people going out acting all crazy. I'm sure they're going to be riding their motorcycles, their fancy cars. It's people like in Center City. I was in Center City yesterday. Yeah, yesterday, it's people like within a mile radius selling Eagles t-shirts, and it's a bunch of people, like every mile radius and all that stuff selling the Eagles t-shirts. You know what I mean? Trying to make money off all that stuff. People with like Eagles logos on their cars and all this crazy stuff. You know what I mean? And I mean, we know like about bread and circus, which goes back to the Roman Empire when they used to basically, they had all kinds of things that were going on, but they fed the people bread and circus to basically distract them from, what is going on. So that's what's basically taking place today, Like, who knows? It could be a terrorist attack. It could be them plotting and planning something, so sinister under the people's eyes or whatever. But it's like our people, they're not focused on it because they're focused on, the Super Bowl. Like, I was watching the news the one day because I watch, listen to the news, and I wake up in the morning to hear like the weather and the traffic and all that stuff depending on where I'm going. So they were talking about how I just lost my train of thought. They were talking about how oh man, I lost my train of thought. Or I guess they were talking about how like how crazy people act and all that stuff. But going back to, matter of fact, I'll just get right into the scriptures. I totally just lost my train of thought just now. But this is the book of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 33. It says, "But seek ye first the kingdom of the Most High and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you." So at the end of the day, the first thing you're supposed to seek out is the kingdom of heaven, which goes back to this salvation right here, priority, salvation. You're supposed to seek out the kingdom of the Most High, and all these things are going to be added onto you. Like, for example, me, I was into playing video games, all video games, UFC. You know what I mean? I used to follow the UFC. I used to know the boxing, who had the belts and all that. It's like now I don't even do that no more because I know that it's not important. It's vain. You know what I mean? Like, I would say the last fight I probably, just really watched like from beginning to end, which I didn't really even do that, was a Conor McGregor Mayweather fight. I just watched like highlights or something because it's like, it's not even entertaining anymore because you know what's going on. And it's like, you already know what the outcome could be. And just look at the Super Bowl over there. I was just thinking about that too, like how you have the eagle, which is a symbol of the Roman Empire, the symbol that the legion used to carry and all that stuff when they was marching and all that. And then you have the Patriots, which the Patriots, when you think of the Patriots, you think of America basically. And I don't know, it's kind of crazy those particular two teams are in the Super Bowl, and it's like, I mean, it's very possible the Eagles could lose, but I don't know. I kind of, it's almost like this is symbolic or something like that. But I mean, who knows what could happen. And then, if they lose, it could be like a riot or something like that. Like seeing how these, Philadelphia people are and all that stuff. But anyway. And I mean, this isn't saying like it, just like I keep saying, this isn't about, sinning, because, sports is not a sin, but it's just like knowing the priorities and knowing what's going on right now. It's like, that wouldn't be wise basically to be all into all like that, because even like, these particular things, it's like it could almost become like idolatry or something. You know what I mean? You got people that just sit up there and, like when I used to live in Lancaster, I lived in a rooming house or whatever, right? And the dude who was in the rooming house too, it's like he'd be in the living room listening to like they had this baseball team called the Barnstormers, and it's like, yo, he would be writing down stats and all this play by play, and it's just like, I mean, he was an Edomite too, and just like that was just crazy, like how people could be that into like sports like that. It's just like, how does it even, benefit you at all? And it's like, this goes back to basically, just like this earlier I was talking about, the lust of the flesh, the pride of life, the lust of the eye, all these things. You know, it's like you really have, and when you're in the truth and you have this knowledge, you really got to guard yourself and be disciplined. You know what I mean? 'Cause that's what it all goes back to, discipline. This is Romans 12 and 2. And be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of the Most High. So it says when you come into the truth, you gotta be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So just like I said, you can't be in the same worldly spirit as everybody else. You can't be in the same worldly spirit as everybody else. You gotta be different. And it says that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of the Most High. Because I mean, I just think about this. You know, like how people used to wear those wristbands. What would Jesus do and all that? Like I highly doubt. You know what I'm saying? Yahawashi would be sitting up there watching sports and all that stuff. It doesn't benefit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's I guess it comes a time when you might want to just say like had pleasure things, pleasure, fun and entertainment, but it's like you really want to reduce that down to like little or nothing. Just like how the body, right? You have like a certain balances or whatever, and just like how the body, you can't put fats and sugars and candy and junk food in your body all the time. It's like you want to just limit it. You know what I'm saying? Limit it to as little as possible. Just like you can't, drink yan all the time. You gotta limit it and stuff. And it's the same thing with these like sports and all that stuff. Or I'll just say fun, entertainment, and pleasure. These the distractions, things that can distract you. You want to try and limit it. This is Luke 12:34. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. So if your treasure is on, if salvation is a treasure, that's where your mind is gonna be. But if you're on like fun, pleasure, entertainment, it's like that's where your mind is gonna be. Like when you come home, like when I come home from work, it's like I know I want to do something to basically contribute to the truth or whatever. Whether I look up articles, whether I have a certain, like as you see how I organize this on the Keep app, I'll come up with a topic, then I'll come up with precepts, and anything I could think of that would go with that particular topic, I'll try and line it up or whatever. But it's like you don't want to just be thinking about just say like the balance I was saying. You just say like when I was into boxing and UFC and all that stuff, I might have came home from work when I was in the world. I'm saying I might have came home from work and just just looked at old UFC fights or something like that until I fell asleep. It's like you don't want to be like that. You know what I mean? You got to be very conscious of what you're doing or whatever. Deuteronomy 6:5, and thou shalt love the Lord thy power with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy might. So, at the end of the day, you want to have your mentality to where you basically love the Lord, put him first, put his commandments first before, with all your heart and sincerity, and, with all your might. Psalms 90:12, it says, so teach us to number our days that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom. So it says, so teach us to number our days. This is a Psalm of King David. It says that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom. So you're supposed to apply your hearts unto wisdom. What's wisdom? The words of the Heavenly Father, the words of Yahawah, Sham, Yahawashi. That's in the scripture. So you wanna that's what you want your focus to be. This is the book of Matthew 22:37. It says, Yahawashi said unto him, thou shalt love the Lord thy power with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy mind. So yeah, this is going back to Deuteronomy 6:5. Just like it just says, you wanna love the Lord, and love. It's talking about basically obedience with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy mind. So you want to give it your all. Like this one of my favorite scriptures. I got this on my business card, my contract and business cards. Ecclesiastes 9:10, where it says, whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with thy might. This is Proverbs 27 and 23. Be thou diligent to know the state of thy flock, and look well to thy herds. Yeah, and it's using that word that we always bring out is diligence. So it says, be thou diligent to know the state of thy flocks, and look well to thy herds. So in order to know the state of your flock, I mean, you got to be paying attention. And just like how we, brothers always say, you got to pay attention to what's going on in the news and all that. I mean, just think about that. I mean, that's productivity, like, is it gonna be beneficial for me to watch the news? Watch, even if it's because sometimes we may get tired or something like that, but it would be more beneficial to watch like a documentary or a movie that's spiritual, that's teaching you something, rather than sitting down, watching a comedy or watching like sports or something like that. You know what I mean? It's gonna be more beneficial to you to do that. You know what I mean? Because you could get stuff out of it. This is 2 Timothy 2 and 22. It says, flee also youthful lusts, but follow righteousness, faith, charity, peace with them that call on the Lord out of a pure heart. So it says, flee also youthful lusts. And like, just like I was saying, one of my youthful lusts would have been like video games, the sports thing, so these are things that now that I came into the truth, I try and limit them, very, 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 very little. Because it was almost like I noticed when I came into the truth, it's just like fasting. When we think of fasting, we think of food, but it could be also other things. Because it got to the point where I had to almost like fast from, I used to, being honest, when I first came into the truth, when I first, heard about the Israelites and all that, I would be, watching YouTube videos, smoking Black and Mild, smoking weed, playing video games and all that. But then I just had to fast from doing those things till I completely stopped doing them. And, I got my mind like focused. I remember, I be saying this a lot, but I remember when I first, heard like the elders and started hearing brothers from GMS, like, I would work third shift. So I would come home, I would work 10 at night to 7 in the morning. I would get home, and it'd be times where I literally didn't sleep because I would be on, the spirit was on me to just watch videos, take notes and all that stuff. And it just got to the point where, I remember like I would charge up my phone, right? I would put my phone on the charger, but it would get so hot, it would overheat, it would turn off and all that. So I had to take breaks and all that. But it's like, I know brothers, they're not going to have that spirit all the time. They're kind of going to build themselves up to a point and then, pace themselves more. But, that was more, basically beneficial than me, sitting up there, playing video games or watching UFC or whatever, you know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. That's the point. So this is 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 8. It says, for bodily exercise profiteth little, but godliness is profitable unto all things, having promise of the life that is now is, and of that which is to come. So it says bodily exercise profiteth little. And we know that's not saying, don't exercise at all, but it's not gonna give you salvation. Like if I go out there, do insanity or P90X or something like that, trying to get a six-pack, that's not going to give me salvation. But at the same time, we know that exercise / diet, that's going to keep you like healthy. Like I remember actually my one of my supervisors I used to work with, he told me, he had like 101 temperature or whatever. But it's like, the healthcare thing, it's just like it's so expensive or whatever. So what I try and do is I try and just, basically exercise, keep myself fit to a certain degree, and then diet. You know what I mean? I try not to I try to eat, you know what I mean? I'm not as disciplined, I guess, as I used to be, but I try and eat a certain types of foods so that, you know, your body isn't going to break down, you know what I mean? But and then I know that it's only profitable. And even like with the sports things, I used to be into like boxing, mixed martial arts, but I try and make it more of like a self-defense thing or whatever. I train just for self-defense, not to try and get like a six-pack or have like you know, all these like trapezius muscles and all this, you know what I mean? So it's basically for self defense, you know what I mean? So if somebody comes up to the camp, I would be able to defend myself without getting, you know, trashed, or if somebody tries to like rob me or something, I would be able to defend myself. Or if somebody tries to break into my house or whatever, you know what I'm saying, I would know what to do or whatever. So I mean, it's basically that, but I don't, you know, put my everything into it or whatever. So it says bodily exercise profiteth little, but godliness is profitable unto all things, having the promise of the life that now is, and of that which is to come. All right, so you know, I hope this was edifying. I hope this cleared some things up. And with that, you know, all praises to Yahawah, Sham, Yahawashi, and double honors to the apostle, elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom.